Our signature was Triangle K. This one is Triangle W.
I will often be on a tour flight and you'll immediately recognize that you have a veteran on board. And one of the most obvious signs is that rather than moving all around the airplane like everybody else excitedly doing so, they're literally standing behind you, taking it all in, acting as though even though 65 years later they're still part of that crew. And you immediately connect with them. And it's a real privilege and a real honor to be able to share that little glimpse back with them on board this aircraft.
What's great about this tour for me is to meet the veterans.
And they talk about their missions and the things they did.
A lot of them are seeing the airplane for the very first time since they stepped off of one.
Quite often tears flow.
Their bravery goes beyond any comprehension that I even have.
When I'm working on this plane, I sit there and I think of how many people sacrificed their lives to do, to fly the plane in wartime. And I try to put myself in that place about, what would it be like to be sitting there in England in freezing cold temperatures with no cover, no anything, working on this airplane in the snow. And, it puts me back in that era of time.
I just love to hear the engines, love to hear them on takeoff. It's got a roar that there's no other airplane has. Most people don't know why. It's because of the long exhaust stack that goes back through the turbo supercharger that gives us that deep throat tone roar to it.
People used to tell me that when you go up in that plane, you won't believe how noisy it is. And when I went up in it last summer, it seemed just as noisy as it did in the 40s. No different.
We really blew the hell out of things. Oil refineries, ammunition dumps, troop emplacements, you name it.
You just flew because you had to, You didn't think much about it.
Interesting note that I've got a tie. You see that? I decided I was going to fly combat in a gentleman's war with a tie on. And in case we were hit and went to Switzerland or to Norway, I was going to make sure I had something. The other guys have ties, but they don't have them tightened up there. I tightened mine up just for the photograph.
I was a navigator on the B-17. 28, there's 27 on here, and then I didn't get the last one on. Then we flew that one to Berlin to pick up those prisoner of war.
It's almost like they've kept a lot of this bottled up, but when they see the aircraft again, it's like all this stuff is just released. I've talked to guys who are talking about horrible things that they've been through, having to bail out over Germany because their aircraft was on fire and how they lost 3 crew members in that. And they're able to talk about that because they're just literally looking at the aircraft and all these memories are flooding back.
Our whole base practically was on the flight, and we lost 2 airplanes, one on either side of us on that first mission.
We got hit with this one flak burst, which started the fire.
It's part of the situation. We don't, you learn to cope with it as time goes on.
After the war was over, we flew into Linz, Austria, which was Adolf Hitler's hometown. Big hometown. I was looking at the cockpit. And we hauled prisoners of war back to their homelands in the Bombays.
The pilot's compartment, the 2 of us that were there, top turret gunner and I, we couldn't get to the front because of too much fire. So we went out to Bombay.
Because it was open?
It was open, yeah.
Now, had you dropped the bombs at that point? Or
no, they had not been dropped.
At age 86, I feel like I won't be able to come and see them again. So this is a choice experience for me to reflect a little bit. Those experiences which were part of my youth.
There we go. And I still cuss myself to this day of not picking up a 109 that had come right in on us. And I can still see that big old 20-millimeter nose cannon aimed right at me. Mm-hmm. This all happened in a matter of seconds.
Our actual takeoffs, as they were from England, we didn't have quite the size runway here that we had there. We'd have to go up and catch a few bits of grass and hay out of the farmhouse at the end of the runway.
But General Twining called us all together and he says, as of today,
We are known as the 15th Strategic Air Force.
Just to sit there and listen to them tell their stories is why I come out here. And I think that's why a lot of other people come out here, because you see the veterans with their families, you see the veterans with their grandkids, and there is something about the greatest generation that they are continuing to pass on to the rest of us. And to see that in action is really, I think, what this is all about.